Hello vinyl community, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna jump on one of those vinyl tags that are floating around on YouTube. I'm gonna do the vinyl tag album art tag that was created by Jack at the Vinyl Voyage, one of my favorite channels on the VC. Great tag, Jack, and I'm gonna try to answer all your questions about album covers. And you know, album covers is something that I really love. I mean, that's one of the reasons I collect records. It's not just the music format, but it's also the experience with the album covers. All those fantastic artworks that you can look at and read and feel. So it's just something that I really like. I especially like the British album covers from the late 60s, early 70s, when, you know, psychedelic were turning into progressive. At that time, the album covers were as experimental as the music and as innovative as the music. In those days, there was no limits what you can do. They had big budgets. The record labels, they put a lot of money into album cover design. They were experimenting with different papers and textures and different fold-outs and just different ways to present music. Before I start, I just want to show a book that really got me into this type of album covers. And this is a book called Searching for the Lost Record that I bought in the, I think, late 90s or the early 2000s. And this is a book where they show a lot of album art from the golden age of record collecting. And I mean, they showed these wonderful fold-out covers that they did back in the days. When I was reading this book, it opened up so much new music for me. And when I saw these covers, I wanted to explore the music. So it's almost where my interest for those old records started. So Jack had a bunch of questions that he wanted us to answer. I'm gonna try to combine a few questions. So maybe I will answer 2 questions with one album and so. And I don't think I will do all the questions. But as I've heard, there's no rules with these tags. You can be creative and you can change a little bit if you want to. So I have done some slight changes. But anyway, the first question Jack had was show an album cover where they just look cool on the cover. And I have decided to go for Karelia, Suomi pop. Just look at these 2 guys. Looking really cool, I think. This is a Finnish band, and this album came out in 1970. The beautiful inner gatefold here, showing Sweden, Finland and Norway. And lovely artwork here on the back. And this is a pretty obscure and pretty wild Finnish record. And this is just a weird collection of songs. Some are very in a very folk rock style. Some are just pure weird folk. Some are going into more beat. Some are going into more progressive pop or even psychedelic music. So it's just a weird mix of songs. And they sing in Finnish, and they had probably found some weird mushrooms out in the wild forest of Finland that they were tripping on and create some totally out there music. But interesting record with cool people on the cover. The next question was show an album cover that's trippy or just weird. And I'm gonna go for weird. And I'm also gonna combine this with the question show an album cover with an animal on the cover. So 2 questions, 1 record. And I'm gonna go for Rocking Horse with the album Yes It Is. This is an absolutely brilliant Beatlesque power pop album. And it was released in the UK on these Philips labels. And it's a pretty rare one to find these days. But the album cover here, we see some kind of horse. I don't know if it's a rocking horse or what it's supposed to look like, but very, very weird. And this album cover was designed by Hipgnosis, the famous design studio from London that did album covers for like Pink Floyd and Genesis, and even the Wings with McCartney used Hipgnosis, and all the big names used Hipgnosis. And they did some very weird and sometimes really great album covers. And they did this one as well. And I actually have a book with the album art by Hipgnosis called For the Love of Vinyl, and read about the different artwork that they did. And of course, they did this famous album cover. This is like a coffee table book where they show almost all the records that they did. However, this album is not in the book. So maybe they are not so proud of this one. I don't know. Maybe they forgot about it. But anyway, it says here, designed by Hipgnosis on the back. As I said, brilliant, like Mercy Beat sounds, but with a 1970s production, late Abbey Road era style. And the man behind this is Jimmy Campbell, who released a solo album on Vertigo, and he was in different bands. And it's top-notch stuff, with a weird cover and animals on the cover.
Julian, he's such a hooligan. Been second school again. Blowing that cool again. Julian, acting the fool again. Saying something rude again.
The next question is a tough one. Show us the sexiest album cover. And I looked through my collection and I don't have any record at all that I consider are sexy. So this was hard. But anyway, I picked out Liz Phair's album Exile in Guyville from 1993. And I mean, I don't consider this album cover to be sexy, but to me, a woman that are strong and standing up in a male-dominated rock world, unapologetic and just saying it the way she wanted it, that is kind of hot to me. Here, she's like putting her heart out and singing songs from her own perspective without asking for permission. And this is a great album too. I mean, it's very sparse and kind of lo-fi arrangements, often just with drums and her guitar and her singing. She could be very vulnerable in some songs, very emotional, and she could be like sexual aggressive in some songs, and it inspired many other female artists later on in the 90s to do their own thing. And so she's a very influential artist, I would say, or at least this album is very influential.
I want a boyfriend. I want a boyfriend. I want all the stupid old shit like letters and sodas. Letters and sodas. I can feel it in my bones. I'm gonna spend another year alone. Let's fucking run. Fucking run.
The next question is show an album cover that you don't like. And I'm gonna go for Damned, the debut album by Damned. And this is a pretty well-known album, so I won't talk too much about it. But I think this is just a disgusting cover. It looks like a bunch of douchebags from college or something. So this is a cover that I don't like. Pretty cool band, but and pretty cool album, but the cover is not for me. And it was released on Stiff Records. This is a UK original. Yeah, the next album I'm gonna show is for two questions that I'm gonna combine again. Show an album cover with an interesting backstory, and show an album where the sleeve art was the primary reason you decided to take a chance on the music. And this album I'm going to show it, I didn't take a chance on the music. I knew the album very well, but the album cover were kind of the reason I bought this. This is Tom Waits Swordfishtrombones. And now you're asking yourself, this is not Swordfishtrombones by Tom Waits. This has a totally different album cover. Yes, but now to the interesting backstory. In 1982 or so, Tom Waits recorded Swordfishtrombones. And that was a major change in music style for him. He went from being this like jazz bar kind of singer-songwriter to going towards more experimental music, incorporating a lot of different instruments and art rock, experimental rock. Anyway, he presented Swordfishtrombones to his record label Asylum, and they said, we're not going to release this. This is not going to sell. You're going to lose all your audience, and yeah, we're not putting it out. So they rejected his album. So Tom Waits spent almost a year like looking around for another label that could release Swordfishtrombones. And he finally made a deal with Island Records that put out Swordfishtrombones in the album cover that we all know, the classic Swordfishtrombone cover. However, this album came out on Asylum Records by mistake, with the original artwork that was created by Tom Waits himself. For some reason, Asylum Records by mistake put out this album in New Zealand and Australia, I think, and maybe another country too. This is the Australian original on Asylum that was quickly withdrawn after release because it came out on Island Records at the same time or a little bit later on. This is the Asylum Records release of Swordfishtrombones. So this is a pretty obscure and rare release to find if you collect Tom Waits, with this original Swordfishtrombones artwork. Looks pretty cool to me. I like the original Island release album cover as well, but it's pretty cool that it exists some copies on Asylum Records, I mean his old record label. And I don't know how you release an album by mistake, because Asylum didn't want to release it at all, but it came out with a different album cover and everything. And there's an inner sleeve to this with the lyrics. It's just the same album, same mix, same everything. I think I can't hear any difference in the music, but it's pretty cool to have this Asylum release. So the album cover was like the main reason I bought this particular copy, because I thought it has a really cool story and it's a cool album to have. But I of course knew the music, so I didn't take a chance on it. Sorry, Jack, I tweaked the question a little bit here, but I wanted to show this album because it has a nice story and it's a pretty rare one, and I'm glad I have it in the collection.
Well, the eggs chase the bacon on the frying pan, and the whining dog pigeons by the steeple bell rope, and the dogs stiff the garbage.
The next question, show us your favorite inner gatefold art. I mean, I love gatefold covers, and there are so many great artworks when you like open it up and you're just blown away by the art. But I'm gonna go for another Hipgnosis album cover design. And I'm gonna do Madcap Laughs by Syd Barrett. This is a UK original in this laminated cover. And we all know this album. It's a brilliant, weirdo psych pop. It almost feels like it's not finished, but the songs are there. And if you know the story about Syd, Yeah, I think it's brilliant. This is the UK original on Harvest without the EMI logo. Anyway, if you open up this cover, you have this lovely collage by Syd Barrett. This kind of captures his mind at the time, maybe. Like he was mentally ill, of course, and that combined with a lot of LSD, maybe his mind was like something like this. Anyway, this is photographed by Hipgnosis again, the design studio that I talked about. And the floorboards here, when they came to Syd Barrett's apartment, he had painted the floor in like this. And actually, a couple of years ago, these floorboards were sold at an auction for, I think, 28,000 UK pounds to someone, a collector. So someone has kept all these floorboards, but maybe they are putting it up in a Syd Barrett museum or something, I don't know. But very cool that they still exist and someone has bought them recently. Inner Gatefold, Syd Barrett, Madcap Laughs, absolutely lovely album. The next question is, show us your favorite album cover, and also show us an album cover with a interesting design, like a gimmick or a fold up or pop up or something like that. And I'm going to go with an album designed by one of the great UK artists when it comes to album cover design, Roger Dean. And he was a painter, and he painted all these otherworldly landscapes that you can see on a lot of progressive rock albums from the early 70s or the 70s. But I'm gonna go with a pretty obscure one that's called Earth and Fire, with this absolutely stunning album cover. It's a gatefold cover that you can fold up like this to see this lovely Roger Dean image. And it is also a gimmick cover, as you can see here. You can open it up like that. So it has some inside here and an outside. This is the debut album from Earth and Fire. And when it came out in the Netherlands, it had a completely different album cover. But when they was releasing it for the UK market, they wanted a different cover because progressive music was really hot. So they wanted to let Roger Dean do the cover, so it would look more like a progressive rock album. However, the music isn't that progressive. It's more like hard rock with female vocalists, or maybe some light psych rock in it as well, but not so progressive. But anyway, the album cover here. The inside of the gatefold looks like this, pretty cool, of the band. But what I really love with this album cover is not just the design and the drawing here, but it has a hidden feature, because inside here there's a hidden girl. If you look inside here, you can see there's a girl in there. I know, can you see? It's really cool, little extra feature. She's under here, so you can't see her unless you're like opening it up a little bit. I have shown this album before. I picked up a copy in Den Bosch 2 years ago, another copy that I have sold, but this is my copy in much better condition, as you can see. And it was released on a very cool label called Nepentha in the UK. Same label that released Pete Dello that I talked about before. I think they only released like 5 or 6 albums on Nepentha. So Jack, this is my favorite album cover, and also a gimmick album cover.
What is it you try to say? Is it something you don't know?
So the last question. If you had to live in an album cover for the rest of your life, which one would it be and why? I have picked out this album. This is Heron with Twice as Nice and Half the Price. And on the album cover, you can see a house in the beautiful English countryside, and they are just playing music outside. They have the drum kit there, the amplifiers, the guitars, they are singing, they are playing. It's summer, they are like hanging out in the countryside and having probably the time of their life. So this is the place where I would like to be, especially these days in Stockholm, you know, when it's snow everywhere and it's mud everywhere, and it's just, you really miss the summer. So this is the place where I want to be. And Heron, this is their second album, a double LP. Here you can see the band. They are essentially just 4 guys, but many more people playing on the album. And this is like folk rock, I would say. It's very rural, kind of American-inspired folk rock. Yeah, I think it's a really joyful listen if you want to like relax and forget about the troubles in the world. And this came out as a double LP on Dawn Records with these labels, you know. There's also a like lovely insert here, like a postcard, where you can get some information about who's playing. And we have Mike Cooper is playing on this one. He is another artist from Dawn, and he actually took this album cover photo. I play music myself, and once a year, me and my old pals, we go out to this house in the countryside to play music for a weekend. We are about 10 people. We go out there with a lot of food, a lot of beers, and all the amplifiers and the drum kits and instruments and everything. We set up like 3 rehearsal spaces and we play music for an entire weekend. And that is like one of the best times of the year. And maybe it's something like this. I mean, we're not going out in the summer, so it's maybe not just like this, but anyway, to go away with your pals to just play music for a weekend outside in the country. Yeah, who wouldn't want to do that? So this is the album cover where I want to live, and it's Heron, twice as much and half the price. So, thank you, Jack, for putting this album art vinyl tag together. It was a lot of fun to do it. And these tags are, of course, a great way to just show records from your collection without a reason. You just answer these questions and show records and talk a little bit about them. So if you're new to the vinyl community and are thinking about starting your own channel, do one of these vinyl tags. It's an easy way to start. You just answer the questions, show a record, and all of a sudden you're in this like vinyl community carousel. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you want that, and put down a comment maybe. What do you think about these records? Do you have any of these, or do you like them, or what's your favorite album cover? Whatever, put down a comment. I would also like to do a shout out to a new channel. It's Tim from California, who has started the channel Fantasy Roundabout. He is new, he has done a couple of videos, and I think you should go and subscribe to him. He has great taste in music, and he presents some really cool albums, and also he's showing all the record stores that he has visited in the UK. That's really interesting to follow. So go and subscribe to Tim's channel if you want to. He seems to be a great guy. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to this artsy episode. And I will see you in my next video, hopefully. So until then, be sure to fight the man and protect Greenland. And don't take any shit from any like Gestapo military shit guy in yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Be brave and buy records and listen to music. Peace out, folks.